Hello, good day. This video will help you to understand what is rights issue, the purpose of rights issue, how rights are issued to existing shareholders, how to value rights issue. At the end of this learning session, students will be able to evaluate the effect of rights issue on companies and shareholders' wealth. I remember when I was working as an analyst in a stockbroking firm, I encounter ordinary investors who are quite confused about what to do when they are offered rights from their shareholdings. They are concerned about the impact of rights issue on share price too. Will the share price rise or fall? Will they benefit from the rights issue? These are questions truly important to investors. The knowledge is important to you too. If you want to work in the finance department of a listed company or becomes an investment banker or investing on your own. So stay tuned and let's learn together. What is a rights issue? Rights issue or rights offering is an issue of equity to existing shareholders. Here, each shareholder is issued an option to buy a specified number of new shares from a company at a specified price within a specified time, after which the rights expire. As such, rights issue can be considered as a public issue of securities, in which securities are first offered to existing shareholders. Rights issue is also known as seasoned new issue, as the company's securities have been previously issued. Unseasoned new issue is referred to as IPO, initial public offering. The preemptive rights allows common stockholders to maintain their proportionate ownership in the corporation when new shares are issued, thus maintaining their voting control and protecting them from dilution of ownership. When new shares of equity are sold to the general public, the proportional ownership of existing shareholders is likely to be reduced. However, if a preemptive right is contained in the firm's articles of incorporation, the firm must first offer any new issue of common stock to existing shareholders. To preserve existing patterns of ownership and control, a rights issue is offered on a pro rata basis. For example, one new share for every 4 existing shares. Is rights traded? Yes, rights are often traded on securities exchanges or over the counter. To execute a rights offering, the financial management team will have to think about the following questions. What price should the existing shareholders be allowed to pay for a share of new equity? How many new shares will have to be sold? How many rights will be required to purchase one share of equity? And what effect will the rights offering have on the existing share price of the company? In a rights issue, the subscription price is the price that existing shareholders are allowed to pay for a share of equity. Is the subscription price higher or lower than the current market price of common stock? What do you think? A rational shareholder will subscribe to the rights offering only if the subscription price is below the market price of the equity on the offer's expiration date. Rights issues are offered at a discount to the current market price, commonly in the region of 15 to 20%. This discount makes the new shares more attractive to shareholders and allows for any adverse share price movements prior to the issue. In the next three slides, I have listed down some formula for the analysis of rights issue. You may need this formula or you may not, as sometimes you can use logic and understanding to figure out the solution. After the rights issue, this list of formula enables you to calculate the impact of rights issue on the number of shares outstanding, total market value, and share price. Again, you may not need to memorize the formula. Sometimes you can use the formula to reconcile your answer. Finally, this is the third slide with formula. I compiled the formula over the years when teaching this topic because there are times students just like to have formula to assist in their learning and understanding. However, I never remember any of the formula because if we understand how the rights issue works, we can work out the calculation. The formula is just complementary. Is that all right? Read the statements in this slide. Let me ask you a question. If you wish to be entitled to rights issue, when should you buy the common stock? Well, X rights means exclude rights. If you want to receive the rights, you should buy the equity prior to the X rights date. An individual buying the equity on or after the X rights date will not receive the rights. Let me ask you another question. What will happen to the share price after the X rights date? Will the share price increase, decrease, or remain constant? What do you think? Share price will decline after the X rights date. In the coming slides, I will tell you why. Stay tuned. Here is an example about the price change after the X rights date. Next, we are going to look into an example. This example is from your prescribed textbook by Hillier. Please read the details in the textbook. The Royal Bank of Scotland undertook a rights issue to raise 12 trillion. On the announcement date, the share price was £3.58. The subscription price for the new shares is £2, which is lower than the market price of the shares. This slide shows the statement of financial position and income statement of Royal Bank, the market value of the bank, the earning per share and PE ratio are calculated too. Next, we are going to answer some questions. Question 1. How many rights to issue? Question 2. How many new shares to issue? Question 3. How many rights needed to buy a share of equity? I have listed the final answers at the bottom of the slide. I hope this will motivate you to try first without looking at the answer. Let's calculate the answer. Question 1. How many rights to issue? The number of rights to issue is equal to the number of shares outstanding. This means one existing equity is entitled to one right. Question 2. How many new shares to issue? The number of new shares to issue is actually equal to the amount raised divided by the subscription price or offer price. Question 3. How many rights needed to buy a share of equity? The number of rights to buy a share of equity is the ratio between the rights issue and the number of new shares issued. You can also calculate by dividing the number of old shares with the number of new shares. As there are more existing shares outstanding than the number of new shares issued, you need more than one right to buy one new share. Question 4 to 7. Analyze the effect of the rights issue. After the rights issue, how many shares outstanding are there? What is the value of the firm? What is the value of each share? What is the value of a right? Again, I have listed the suggested final answer at the bottom of the slide. Happy trying! Let's calculate the answer for question 4 to question 7. For question 4, how many shares outstanding are there? The number of shares outstanding increases by the number of new shares issued. The number of shares outstanding will be the number of existing shares plus number of new shares. Question 5. What is the value of the firm? The value of the firm is the original market capitalization plus amount of new financing raised. The value of the firm or market capitalization increases after the rights issue. Question 6. What is the value of each share? The value of each share is the new market value divided by the new number of shares outstanding. As you can see, share price dropped after the rights issue. Question 7. What is the value of a right? The value of a right is the difference between the old share price and the new share price. Rights issue has impacts on the number of shares outstanding, the value of the firm, and the share price. This slide shows the summary of what we have just calculated. The number of shares outstanding will increase as new shares are issued. The value of the firm or the market capitalization will increase by the amount of new financing raised. Before the rights issue, the original market price is £3.58. The subscription price is £2. After the rights issue, share price dropped to £2.98. Take note that the lower the subscription price, the greater the price decline of a rights issue. I would encourage you to construct the statement of financial position and income statement after the rights offering. Take note that the total assets increased by the amount of new financing raised. The net income in the income statement remains unchanged. However, the earning per share drops due to the increase in number of shares outstanding after the rights issue. Please try out the calculation without looking at the answer first. Then, cross-check with the answers in this slide. In this way, you can learn better. In the earlier slides, we have analyzed the impact of rights offering on the company. Next, we shall analyze the impact of the rights offering on shareholders. If you are shareholder or investor, I'm sure this topic will be of great importance. In rights offering, each shareholder is issued an option to buy a specified number of new shares from the firm at a specified price within a specified time, after which the rights expire. Take note that the rights issue is an option. whereby the shareholders can choose to subscribe to the new shares or not. The terms of the options are evidenced by the certificates known as share warrants or rights. How is the notification and payment process? Existing shareholders are notified when they have been given rights for each share of equity they own. Exercise occurs when a shareholder sends payment to the firm's subscription agent, usually a bank, and turns in the required number of rights. When rights issue is offered, do shareholders have a choice? The answer is yes. Shareholders have several choices. They can choose to subscribe for the full number of entitled shares. This means they need to pay for the new shares at subscription price. They contribute new capital to the company. Second, they can also order all the rights to be sold at market price and receive some money. Third, they can do nothing and let the rights expire. Take note that the choice to exercise or sell rights should not affect the wealth of existing shareholders. I will show you how in the coming few slides. The key principle is shareholder will neither win nor lose by the rights offering. This is a very important principle. In an efficient stock market, it will make no difference whether new equity is obtained via rights or via direct purchase. Let's look into an example on how rights issue can impact the shareholders. This example is related to the example on Royal Bank, just that we are looking from the perspective of shareholders. There are three key questions that is important to shareholders. How much is his total holdings? How many rights will he receive? How many additional shares can be purchased? Please try to think about the calculation on your own first. There is a little answer at the end of the slide to motivate you to try. Happy trying! Let's do the calculation together. Question 1. How much is the shareholder's total holding? Before the rights issue, the shareholder owned 18 shares. At the current market price of £3.58, the value of his total holding is 18 times 3.58. The value is equal to £64.44. Question 2. How many rights will he receive? The number of rights received is 18, same as his shareholdings. One share is entitled to one right. Question 3. How many additional shares can he purchase? The ratio is 18 rights to buy 11 new shares, so he can buy 11 new shares. The number of rights to buy a share of equity is 1.649. In scenario 1, we shall assume that the shareholder will exercise his rights and buy the new shares. There are a few key questions to answer here. These questions are important to shareholder when he decides to subscribe to the new shares. Let's try to calculate. Let's try to calculate the answer for question 4 to question 8. Question 4. How much does he need to pay to buy the new shares? He needs to pay at the subscription price of £2 for the 11 new shares offered to him. The amount paid is £22. Question 5. How many shares will he hold? The total shares is the existing 18 shares plus 11 new shares. which is equal to 29 shares. The number of shares owned by the shareholder increased after the subscription. Question 6. How much is the value of his holdings? The value of his holding is his original holding plus new capital subscribed to buy the new shares, which is 64.44 plus £22 paid. Question 7. How much is the share price after the rights offering? The share price is equal to the value of holdings divided by the amount of shares after the subscription. Question 8. How much is the value of one rights? The value of one rights is the difference between the old share price and the new share price. This means the decrease in the share price is the value of one rights. In scenario 2, we shall assume the shareholder sells the rights. This means he did not pay the subscription price to buy additional new shares. What are the impacts? How would the shareholder be affected? I'm sure the answer to these questions will be interesting too. Question 9. How much will he obtain from selling the rights? Question 10. How much is the value of his shareholdings? Question 11. How much is his total gain? Is he wealthier? Let's try and calculate the answer. Let's try and answer question 9 to 11. Question 9. How much will he obtain from selling the rights? The shareholder has 18 rights, so he sells the right at the rights price of 0.6 pound and receives 10.79. Question 10. How much is the value of his shareholdings? The value of his shareholding reduces to 53.65 pounds. Because the share price has dropped to 2.98 pounds after the rights issue, he still owns 18 shares, which is the original number of shares owned by him. Question 11. How much is his total gain? Is he wealthier? As you can see, he now owns 18 shares and some cash from the selling of the rights. The total value is 10.79 pound plus 53.65 pound. The total value is 64.44. As you can notice, the value of the holdings is the same as before the rights issue. His value remains unchanged. He is neither wealthier or poorer. In scenario 3, we shall consider if an outside investor buys 18 rights to purchase 11 shares at subscription price of £2. Rights are traded in the market, so it will be interesting to understand how outside investors can purchase the rights and subscribe to the new shares. Let's try to answer question 12 to question 16. Let's try and answer question 12 to question 16. In scenario 3, an outside investor buys 18 rights to purchase 11 new shares at subscription price of £2. Question 12. How much does the outside investor pay for the rights? The outside investor paid the rights price of 0.6 to buy 18 rights, and the amount is 10.79 pounds. Question 13. How many shares can he purchase? With the 18 rights, the outside investor can buy 11 new shares, which is the same subscription ratio as existing shareholders. Question 14. How much does the outside investor pay to purchase 11 shares? When he buys 11 shares, he pays the subscription price of £2 per share. The amount paid is £22. Question 15. How much is the total cost? The total cost is the price paid to buy the rights and the new shares, which is 10.79 plus 22, and the total cost is £32.79. Question 16. Is it better for the outside investor to buy shares directly at £2.98 after the ex-rights date? If the outside investor buys shares after the ex-rights date, he will pay the ex-rights price of £2.98 multiplied with 11 shares, and the cost is the same. So there is no difference for the outside investor to buy the rights and subscribe for new shares or to buy the shares after the ex-rights date. Take note that the £22 is the amount of capital raised by the company. Existing shareholders can choose not to subscribe, and this amount is raised from outside investors. One of the important decisions of the financial management team is to decide on the subscription price for the new shares. Take note of the relationship here. The higher the subscription price, the lower the number of new shares issued, and the higher the number of rights needed to buy a new share. I hope you will try out the calculation in this example. You can explore the relationship between the subscription price and the number of new shares. The number of new shares issued is equal to the amount of capital raised divided by the subscription price. The number of rights needed to buy a share of equity is equal to the number of existing shares outstanding divided by the number of new shares. Happy trying! Finally, we have come to the end of this video. I hope you have benefited from the presentation and content in this video. If you like this video, please click like, subscribe or share. Thank you, see you and goodbye.